Hey guys, it's Bonnie. Today I am here to do my February wrap-up and March TBR. February was an okay reading month for me. I got enough done in my opinion with, my schedule because I am in school and it was the month of the Oscars, so I was watching a lot of movies. So, I'm good with what I read. So the first book I read in February, or rather finished in February, is Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the third book in the Raven Cycle Quartet. Yeah, I started this in January, obviously, didn't finish it until February, but it was still very good. I love this series so much. I can't really say much because this is the third book in a series, obviously, but if you haven't read this series, you really should. I gave this one about 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It wasn't my favorite in the series, but I still really loved it. Maggie Stiefvater has a really great way of just slowly introducing things to you and then wrapping everything up in the end that just makes you go, what? So yeah, really nervous but also excited for the 4th and final book in the series to come out later this year. It's gonna be emotional for sure. So I actually finished that book on Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make sure I don't have any work to do. I'm gonna give myself the day to just order the heart-shaped pizza from Papa John's, which I don't recommend because it's thin crust, and Papa John's thin crust pizza is not good. Their normal pizza is amazing, but thin crust, no. I'm just gonna order pizza and, read, because that's how I want to spend my Valentine's Day. So after I finished reading Blue Lily, Lily Blue, I went right into Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson, and I finished it that day, well, technically like in the morning of the next day, but it was like 3 a.m. so it still counts as one day. This book is about a girl named Amy and a boy named Roger, obviously, and Amy needs to go up to Connecticut from California because her family is moving there, but she has a very big fear of driving and she has a good reason for it. It'll go into it more in the book. So Roger also needs to get to the Northeast, so he says that he will drive her, and together they take this road trip, basically, from California to Connecticut. Amy's mom has a very strict set of rules, like this destination, then this, and this, but Amy and Roger find it pretty boring, so they take a detour. This book is super good, and you've probably heard of it because it's very hyped on the booktube, especially. I didn't love it as much as I think as everyone else did, and it may be because it was so hyped up that it just didn't quite meet the expectations, but it was still really good. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. 4.5 maybe? I have no idea what I gave this. I actually don't remember what I rated this, but I think it was like 4.5. Because it was pretty good, but it didn't quite meet my expectations, but I still really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. Road trip books are so fun, and this book especially is really cool. I loved all the little extras in here, like the little pictures, and you got playlists, and it was really cool to see. And I'll definitely be reading Morgan Matson's other books because I really loved this one. Next, I actually read a short story by James DeSantis, and it was called Another Day in the Office. I've been in contact with this author before. He's like an independent author, and I've read some of his short stories in the past and reviewed them, and he asked me to review this one, so I did. It was only about 16 pages, no big deal. The short story is like a horror story, so it's not usually what I usually read, and it's definitely like adult, mature. So be cautioned of that, but I thought it was really good. Short stories are either hit or miss for me, and this one was a pretty good hit. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And finally, I read my favorite book of the month, and possibly a new favorite of all time, because oh my god, this book was incredible. And that is Jellicoe Road by Melina Marchetta, or On the Jellicoe Road, I'm not really sure. On Goodreads it says On the Jellicoe Road, and there's other versions that say that, but this just says Jellicoe Road. This obviously won the Prince Award, and oh my god, do I understand why. This book is one of the most beautiful books I have ever read. It is the writing is so lyrical, and the characters feel like, their personal, connections, I felt for them. It was just so good. I really don't want to tell you too much about what it's about because it's so much better to just discover on your own. But I will tell you that it follows a girl named Taylor who lives at a boarding school because her mother left her at a very young age and she doesn't really know what's up with her father. Basically, that's all you need to know. I know it's not much, but trust me, this book is incredible. If you have not read it, you need to. I feel this is gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. if not my new favorite book of all time. It was so beautiful. I laughed, I cried, I felt such a personal connection. And I don't even know why. Like, I didn't have a reason to be connected to it, but the writing was just so good and the characters were so good. And oh my god, if there's one book that you ever read because I tell you to, read this book. Now I'm going to move into my March TBR. I don't always do TBRs because I'm awful at sticking with them, but I have kind of an idea of what I want to read this month, I think. So this is what it is going to be for now anyway. The first two books are ones I'm definitely going to be finishing in March because I have to, and I've already started them, basically. So the first one is Nickel and Dimed on Not Getting By in America by Barbara Ehrenreich. I don't know how to say that last name. But I have to read this book because it is for school and we will be finishing it this month. This is a non-fiction book about this woman who does an experiment from going from her, like, you know, easy writing job, she writes for magazines and stuff, to becoming a minimum wage worker and seeing what it is like to live off of minimum wage. So yeah, interesting so far. Not too far into it, although kind of, because it's very short. But yeah, I'll be reading this in March. Next is the book that I'm currently reading on my own for fun. Obviously I started this in February. That is Ignite Me by Tahara Mafi. The dust jacket is off of it because I don't read with the dust jacket on. But yeah, this is the third and final book in the Shatter Me trilogy. If you don't know what that is about, it's about a girl named Juliet who has this power where if she touches people, they will die. And yeah, things go on from there. I'm sure most of you have heard about this series though and read it. It's really, really good. The writing is great. And yeah, I'm excited to finally finish it because I've been reading it for a while now. I read the first book in like July of last year. So it's very exciting to finally finish it up, and I'm like that much in, so not too far, but I will be finishing this in March, obviously. And next I have two books that I would like to get to in March, at least I think. It depends on what my reading taste goes to, what I feel like reading, what I'm in the mood for, but I feel like it's gonna be these two books because I feel them strongly right now. The first is a book that I don't even think I've hauled. I'm pretty sure I forgot to in my last haul, and that is Brightly Woven by Alexandra Bracken. I didn't even know this book existed until Alexandra Bracken tweeted that the publishing company that made this book was like closing, going out of business, whatever. And she was like, there's this many copies left on Amazon, so if you want one, you better go get it. So I got it. I've looked previously though, and I think Amazon got more copies. So if you want to pick this book up, you still can. And maybe can for a while, but I would do it, you know, soon so that you don't miss the chance of not having it. I didn't really care what this book was about, but I just knew it was by Alexandra Bracken, who wrote the Darkest Minds trilogy, which is one of my favorite trilogies, so I knew I needed this book. I believe it is a fantasy book that follows a girl, I think. I don't know much about this at all, but it's Alexandra Bracken, so I'm here for it. And finally, the last book on my TBR is Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles series. I read Cinder like in May of last year and I still have not continued on, so it just needs to happen. I want to catch up. I want to read this one and then Cress and then the prequel and then be all caught up by the time winter comes out in fall, I think, November, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I want to read this because I need to, yes. So those were all the books that I read in February and the books that I hope to read in March. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you all in my next one. Goodbye! The first two books are ones that I'm definitely going to be finishing. Ugh. The first two books are ones I'm definitely going to be finishing.